Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our May 27th, 2025 Madison County Fiscal Court meeting. This is a regular scheduled meeting here at our Madison County Courthouse Annex in our new fiscal courtroom at 135 West Irvin Street here on the first floor, Richmond, Kentucky. This time, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Clerk Barger, if you will, please call the roll.
Master Combs.
Here.
Master Lockmiller.
Here.
Master Hughes.
Here.
Master Botkin.
Present.
Judge Taylor.
Here. I do want to make an announcement. If anybody would like to speak today on either of the ordinances or during public comment, please make sure that you sign in the back with Robin. Robin, if you will, just raise your hand, just so you'll be able to have the opportunity to speak. Next, I'd like to invite my friend Chad Snellgrove up from White Oak Pond Christian Church. Chad, thank you for being here today. Lead us in a word of prayer, please.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here in this new space. It's an honor to represent White Oak Pond, which I think is one of the oldest structures in the county, dating back to 1790, and this is probably the newest. So it's a neat way to kind of come together. So I'd invite you to be with me in a spirit of prayer. Almighty and loving God, the creator of all things, as we gather in this space today, we recognize that it is not our place to call you in here, but to recognize that you are already in this place. As we have gathered as neighbors, as a community in this space, to think about how we can better be the people that you have called us to be, we recognize that within each and every one of us is that spark of the divine, and we are grateful for that. So within the diversity of this community and in this place today, we come asking you to be in the decisions that we make, and the actions that we begin, and the discussions that we will have. May each voice that is here find resonance. May it be listened to, and may what come out of this be something that can nurture us as a total community. Because we recognize today that as this place gives us shelter from the rain, that there are others within our community, neighbors, that this is not as welcome, that it causes hardship. And so we open our hearts today to all that come to this place. And now, as we gather for this first session in this newly constructed place, we're grateful. And so open our hearts that we might gather today in the name of the one who calls us to peace, Jesus the Christ. It is in his name that we pray these things. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Chad. Sheriff, if you will, lead us in play.
Everyone, please stand, face our flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Thanks, Sheriff. Members of the court, y'all have had a chance to look over our previous meeting minutes. It was our May 13th regular scheduled Madison County Fiscal Court meeting. I need a motion and a second to approve, please.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Master Combs.
Yes.
Master Lockmiller.
Yes.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Master Botkin.
Yes.
Judge Taylor.
Yes. Next, our treasurer's report. Sarah, you're already up there. Good morning.
Good morning. As of April 30th, 2025, our total fund budget was $47,379,528.95. Our general fund revenues were 114.3%, expenditures 36.26%. Our road revenues 76.31%, expenditures 70.15%. Our jail fund revenues 80.18%, expenditures 78.02%. LGEA fund revenues were 104.36%, expenditures 19.13%. Our CSEP fund revenues 70.26%, expenditures 31.62%. Our 911 fund revenues were 90.14%, expenditures 57.25%. And our health fund revenues were 84.32%, expenditures 74.44%.
That's through April.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Any questions, members of the court?
Hey, Judge, I just got a question. Why don't we show a total in the opioid fund? There's a line item in the budget for it.
Why don't we show,
Why don't we show our total balance of the opioid funds?
is it not on there? On mine, it's on there, OSF. All the way to the end, right before the total.
Okay.
Just because he's talking about the column third, fourth from the left, it just says opioid and there's nothing there.
Oh, well, I'm not sure about that. We can look, but it's OSF. Isn't that correct?
That's
OSF.
good. That's right then.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
what he's talking about, come here, sir, just so you can see it. So we have a blank opioid in the middle of that.
Okay.
And then we have OSF over here. So that's,
So the fund number for next budget year has changed.
once you speak in the mic, please.
So for our fiscal year 2026 budget, DLG wants all counties to use the same budget code. And we had used a different budget code. So I've already updated for fiscal year 2026. So you're showing 2 lines for opioid, but only one of them apply for this fiscal year.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Appreciate it, sir. Thank you. First order of business today is we have some folks here from the Department of Criminal Justice Training Center. I think Brian Bowling. Brian? We have a presentation today. Appreciate you all being here today.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Thank you all for letting us come. I'm going to start with just a couple of things. First off, you all know this, Madison County is a beautiful place. You got a lot of things to be proud of. One of the things I hope you're proud of is being the home of the Department of Criminal Justice Training. It's a wonderful training facility. I want to give you just a nugget on it, and then I'll jump right into this presentation. Each year, I'm so sorry. Tell me what to do here.
You're too tall.
Okay, good deal. Thank you, sir. Each year, we train all the police officers in the state of Kentucky and all the dispatchers. That's with the exception of the Kentucky State Police, Lexington, Louisville, Bowling Green, and Owensboro. But beyond that, everybody that you see that works for you all or come to our training academy. We put together 10 basic training classes a year here in Richmond, 2 in Madisonville, 8 public safety dispatch academies, which is your basic training for your telecommunicators, and over 400 in-service courses. So last year, we trained a little over 9,000 law enforcement professionals here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And that's all right here in Madison County, Richmond. So thank you all. We appreciate your partnership. You can imagine with that undertaking, there are a lot of assets we have to keep up and keep moving. And one of our issues is the range out here at Boonesboro, and it's subject to flooding is what the big issue is out there. We're continually working with that. And as you can imagine, with 9,000 people that we're training, every time we have a rain, every time we have a flood, everybody's pushed back. And that affects law enforcement throughout Kentucky because all these agencies are dedicating men and women to come down here and go to training that week, and then we have a flood. Not only are we dealing with the flood, but we're dealing with the cleanup from that flood. And so your all's fire department has been amazing at helping us get that thing cleaned up quickly, and a quick turnaround, and let us get back to training, which helps law enforcement throughout the entire state. And I just want to take a minute to say thank you publicly for that, to thank these gentlemen for helping us with that. If you all come on up and let's give you this plaque. There you go, come on. Hip
Come on.
Should we all step off to the side?
You all just stand up.
Stand up.
Get your pictures with us, if y'all don't mind.
Job well done, boys.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
And girls.
Easy.
And girls, we got one.
Thank you all for allowing us to have that 5 minutes, okay? You all have an open invitation to come over and tour our facilities anytime you'd like to. We'd love to show it off. We're very proud of it. We hope you're all proud of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it a lot. Good stuff there. Next, we have our community diversion program update from our very own County Attorney Jenny Hayman.
No, I'll stay right here. Jill said I could. So I just wanted to do a small update. I think it was about a year ago today that we did the last update on the community diversion programs that we have. And I'll try to break it down a little bit. There's multiple opportunities in which we have to divert low-level offender felonies and misdemeanor cases throughout Madison County. Some of them are just ideas that we may have of certain programming that works with them, and some of them are more formal programming. So I'll talk a little bit more about the formal programming. The first one being, you guys have heard presentations from Baptist Health multiple times. We work with Baptist Health for their CDIOP program. Madison County's very lucky. I'm going to try to look out here. It's weird because I'm supposed to be talking to them, but I'm going to look out towards you all. We're very lucky to have Baptist Health Richmond here in Madison County, and that we have what we refer to as the Thrive Center, which is the behavioral health, mental health program that we actually have inpatient beds to assist with the members in our community. Corbin Baptist Health has a mental health program. Lexington does not. That shows you in Baptist Health Lexington, they do not have any type of programming like that. So to have that here in Madison provides a lot of our community members opportunity they don't have somewhere else. So we partner with them to do a court referral program for treatment. Their CDIOP program is essentially 56 sessions. And so that takes a significant period of time. Hence, IOP is intensive outpatient programming. And so the numbers we had pulled, I went back and looked at the 2022 through 2023 two-year window, and then also overlapped 23 to 24 so we can kind of see the progression in what's referred to. So we have referred in the last 2 years, the 2023-2024 programming, 191 individuals from the court program through Baptist Health. Now, not all of those referrals were for the CDIOP program. Some of them were for independent or individualized therapy, maybe anger management, things like that, it may not be necessarily be a substance use disorder or rise to the level of needing intensive outpatient. So of those that were the IOP program, it was 120 of them that initiated in that. So that shows you kind of the difference in the referral numbers. So we have, out of those 120, 50% of them successfully completed what we call a phase one. IOP in Baptist Health has three phases. Phase one is by far the most intensive. It's 3-hour sessions. There's 24 sessions that they have to complete within about a month, a calendar window. So that's really intensive time commitment for them, and it's definitely the hardest part of that program, which is why we see kind of the drop, right, from the 120 to about 60 who successfully complete that program. That doesn't mean the other 60 just end up back in jail necessarily. We do give them multiple opportunities. I understand treatment's not always successful the first time, so they come back to court and see me. And sometimes we have a coming to Jesus talk about what really needs to happen here on treatment versus jail and the opportunity they've been given. So those numbers over time may skew a little bit because they may, at the end of 2024, we may have re-enrolled them right in 2025. So they may not be in these numbers. So it's not necessarily just the 50%. But the biggest thing that we see in those who complete phase one, so then you have to go on to complete the next two phases, there's a 72% completion rate for those who can survive through phase one. That's really the impactful number for us. I've always said and take the position, it's a tough balance. It's a balance of deciding, providing the defendant treatment, but also not giving them the opportunity to violate your all's rights, right? Not letting them break into someone else's house to steal something to pay for their drugs. And so there's this balance that I welcome anybody to come spend a week with me making those decisions, looking at my felony dockets each week and trying to decide how to balance those out. It's not necessarily easy, but there's factors that we look into it. And I always say, if that 72% completion, it may be 40, 50 people, but that's 40 or 50 people's lives that may be saved that I wouldn't change for anything, right? That's not our place to make that decision. So we're happy to see those numbers. I can tell you we even have some special judges come and cover court, and they see this program and see those numbers, and they bring up our community liaison from Baptist Health and congratulate them for the work that they're doing. So it does make a big impact for us. In comparison to the 2022-2023 years, we've seen about a 14% increase in that success rate. So that shows you too, as the program becomes more established and as we kind of tweak it to see what needs to be offered and how we have to deal with those coming through the court system sometimes, we can see the improvement in that program. So that's one of the diversion programs that we have. Another one that we use for just misdemeanor programming, and this would qualify more for like shoplifting type AI, maybe our college students pick up an AI, we call it the MDP program. And that's actually run through Advent. It's a science-based educational online programming. So especially for like our college kids, sometimes the inconvenience of having to sit there and take this course, it makes them at least pay attention a little bit, right? So in just the last, we did the numbers from April 2024 through April of 2025, so 13 months. We put 284 people through the misdemeanor diversion programming. And that includes, like I said, the AI we use. We have a class called Corrective Thinking. And this is just how to be an effective citizen in our community. Sometimes we need a little bit of education on what that takes. We have the firearm responsibility, we have the shoplifting course, and we have a marijuana course for those that are the low-level offenders, to give them the opportunity. Upon completion of those classes, that successful completion, that case gets dismissed. So it gives them the opportunity not to have that on their record, right? I'm not a fan of marijuana. I don't like it. Regardless of what the legislature or any other government agency may say, I see what it does in the long-term impact a lot in a lot of criminal cases. But I also don't want to ruin a college kid's future for not receiving any federal funding to complete college by having that. So this gives them the opportunity to maybe have a second chance to look and get educated about the impact of what marijuana actually does to them, to their brain, and to their functioning level. So that's the numbers we have for those programs. Another program we partner with the Department of Public Advocacy. The funding from the state actually provides them with what we call an ASW, a social worker, that provides them the opportunity for their clientele to what we use them for primarily is inpatient treatment programming. So individuals who come through court that we realize maybe outpatient's not the first route for them. They may need something a little more secure. And so we partner with the attorneys there to have their ASW find us some inpatient programming throughout the state in which they can assist them with either their Medicaid to get them into those programs and provide those treatment opportunities for them. Because it is the public advocacy program, I don't have the numbers for those, but I do appreciate their partnership and working with them. Although we are on opposite sides of the courtroom and very often disagree on a lot of things, it is nice to have that partnership, and we have a good public advocacy office to work with Charlie Thomas and his team, so we appreciate them as well. And then the last formal programming we have is the Senate Bill 90 program, and that's a state program. We are one of 11 pilot programs in the state for that, so we are still working out the kinks. You guys, as I'm sure you're aware, with working with any pilot program, there are a lot of things we find out. That's a great idea. The legislature has this great, massive idea, but nobody thought about the practical implication. So when it's dumped on us to say, hey, go figure it out, it takes a little bit of time. So we're still working through those numbers. We've probably sent about 24 people through those programs, some successful, some not, but trying to figure out why not successful and where those kinks are in that. And some of that comes with the fact that the defendant gets to choose the place where they want to have that programming done. And we see that as a factor in whether or not they're successful. So there's certain things like that that we're trying to work through. But really, that's about the synopsis of, I didn't have any pretty presentations for anybody, but the synopsis of our diversion programs in Madison County.
Any questions, members of the court?
Is the Senate Bill 90 inpatient?
No, not, well, it's supposed to be a spectrum of them, but they're more for the low level. And so all that we have seen, and this is kind of the problem, is there's an assessor in the state that does a telehealth assessment with them, and all of ours are coming back, let me think, how about low intensity community outpatient programming. So it's a very short period of treatment. There's no inpatient programming to it. So we're seeing, that's one of those issues that we're seeing that we're like, I've seen the individual enough to know that that probably isn't going to be successful, but we give it a try to see and then go from there. If it's not, then we put them through another program.
Anybody? Thank you, Jenny. Appreciate all you do. Appreciate the update. And then we'll just let you go right into what's next on the agenda is our Opioid Advisory Council update. Just as a reminder, we put together an opioid, so I call it kind of opioid task force, and Jenny was kind enough to chair it. I had to twist her arm, but she asked her to chair it for us, and so if you will, just go ahead and give us an update.
So Judge will tell you, he's getting a little enjoyment. This is the most I'll speak in a fiscal court meeting. Normally, I turn my mic off and turn it the other way because I don't normally have anything to say. So, but I do have the...
Except no.
Yeah, I say no. The privilege of chairing the Madison County Opioid Task Force Advisory Council. And I say that because we came with this huge long name because we don't actually make any decisions. That's the first thing we've told everybody that's come to talk to us in the community, that we are tasked with just making a recommendation to Fiscal Court after our investigation and kind of diligence to see where we would recommend using the opioid money that we've received from the state. And I believe there's 5 members to this task force, myself included, that vary from community services through healthcare, and then, of course, through the court system with my position. And although we're very diverse in our area of work, we all are somewhat similar in our processing and way of thinking. So you've put about the 5 most OCD people in a room to come up with a plan, which, of course, we have taken as a huge undertaking. And to start with, we've started with what we call the roadmap to a model community. And what we did is we've created this diagram, and we've created what we think the perfect community looks like in services it can provide from prevention through recovery in the treatment programming systems. And so we've taken this roadmap, and now we're still working on part of this. We've kind of taken the model, and now we're destroying it. We're doing it by saying, we want to fill in the blanks of what Madison County has, what local resources does Madison County have, and plug those in, whether it's in the prevention, whether it's in the intervention, or whether it's in the recovery, and try to see where our gaps are primarily, right? We want to see that. The problem with this idea, it's great, except a lot of times we have some of these fly-by-night programs that within 30 days or 6 months or 9 months, they aren't there anymore. And so it's kind of this living document that keeps moving. So to help us get through this, to figure out where the gaps are, we've started asking community partners to come in and speak with us. And so we've had people like Operation Unite come in and provide us with their programming and how that actually applies into our school systems. And then we've had the school systems come in and talk to us about, you know, what kind of programmings they've had. Kentucky River Foothills has presented on what programmings they have. And so to get a more thorough understanding as the advisory council and task force to have that information so that we can make a decision on what our recommendation will be to the fiscal court to use that money. A lot of you have probably heard about the opioid money and the grant money coming down, and a lot of that money was given out by local governments to different programs. And the problem we're seeing now is we don't see the results of that money. And so we want to be very specific and very intentional in our recommendation, and having those 5 personalities that are very detail-oriented. We've gotten really intense conversations going on in what we expect to see from these programs. And we want to just make sure that in that recommendation, we're doing what's best for the community, not necessarily for why Jenny Heyman is alive, but down the road and see that generational impact. We've been very blessed. I was speaking with Ms. McIntosh earlier. The growth in what we've had for opportunities to provide assistance dealing with the opioid epidemic has been great, but we still have a whole lot of gaps. And so I'm not necessarily speaking out of turn, but I would say that the idea the task force is seeing is that we need to start more on the prevention side to make that generational impact, which means we have to start at a much younger age with our kids. And so that's kind of where we've leaned to focus in working with the schools and Unite. So we're hoping that we can try to see, and we're not just going to say, hey, here's this program, this is where we think you get the money. We want a laid out itinerary, essentially, of how the programming works. What's the long-term plan? How is it sustainable? Grant money is not forever. So when grant money runs out, how is this going to sustain? What is the program you're providing? And how are you going to continue it if there's no grant money down the road? So we're very intentional in that. I think there may be some frustration on the public part, and I do apologize that we've not just come out and said in the last 9 months, here, stroke a check for, $500,000 to this program. But we want to make sure that program gives us the result. We've just seen too much happen in the last year of money being donated to different programmings and not seeing the outcomes and seeing what's being offered actually followed through with. So it's not an answer, but it's just kind of an
It's a
update
good
of what's
update.
going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate the update. Do you know when the task force, y'all have any idea, concept of a time frame?
No,
of
we
when y'all
were
might have a
hoping
recommendation?
that we would have it by the end of the year, but as we delve more into the need and what's out there, it looks to develop that kind of program and see that sustainability, it won't be by the end of the year.
Okay.
I don't know, Judge, I like to give you a lot of credit for that, first of all, for being diligent with our money from that. You know, we've accumulated $1.9 million that wasn't divvied out over the course of, 2 years to have, as Jenny said, just disappear. And so credit for that. Also for putting the task force together and trying to get a group of community leaders. And Jenny, thank you for heading that up and being diligent in that, because you do have the firsthand experience and you do see that. And that is the one thing that we did want from this, is a program that's sustainable, that actually makes a change, not just something that there's a building here and there's people here, next week they're not here. So I appreciate everything that's being done and your diligence in working on that as well, so.
Jenny, on the advisory board or the diversion program, has there been any talk about the net device? Are you familiar with that? It's so at some of the conferences we've been going to, they've done presentations on a net device, and basically what it does, it sounds amazing when you see it. And of course, I don't know how well it works. It's still doing FDA approval, but it's basically this device goes on the back of their ear, and it takes away that urge that, when someone's going through withdrawals, it takes away basically the body's thinking it's killing itself, right? So it takes that away, and it immediately lets them start healing, really, really fast. And I mean, they've done a lot of studies on it. Of course, the FDA didn't approve it because it wasn't exactly like their study is laid out. So they have done FDA approval, and I think since it's gotten approved. And I know they're looking for counties to, be participants in it, put up the money to sponsor people within their county to be able to be on this device. And
Scott County did.
Yeah.
Scott County participates in it.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds amazing. I mean, to think that that someone can be, their self in such a quick time and not go through that withdrawal period and be able to start healing. And, that withdrawal period is what I'd say a lot of the success rate is based on, whether or not they can make it through that period of time.
There is a Netflix documentary on it. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, it's, I think Ewan McGregor, excuse me, he's a famous actor, but he did a documentary on it. And there's a lot of success stories. Some of the people that have used the device are now spokespeople for it. They actually work for the company that makes it and share their story. I mean, it's an amazing story that they have to share. It's just something to maybe look into. It's called the NET device.
Net device? No, we'll definitely look into it and see if they're doing, especially if they're doing some type of, local government programming for it. Now, majority of which we always, Mike's 20 years of experience is to see the patterns of behavior, not necessarily make a medical diagnosis, right? So I've always kind of backed off and said they still have to go through their medical assessments and make that determination on what level of treatment's truly necessary. But, I can kind of gauge a first-time offender versus someone who's not and what their criminal history looks like. But I would say if it's FDA approved now, that we'll probably see a lot more of it.
Yeah.
Because,
Seems like every
the one thing
conference we go to, it's
talking
brought
about
back
it
up,
more.
it's talked about.
Yeah, because like now, we use Vivitrol. I say we, the county doesn't use any Vivitrol, but through the medical providers, Baptist Health and stuff, we use Vivitrols a lot to help with that, different things. So now that it's FDA approved, I'd say we're going to start seeing quite a bit of that.
I think what I saw of it, Jenny, was it was a short term. It was when somebody went into a rehab and they were trying to get over the urges and the withdrawals and those things, that the net device really helped get them past that initial period. I don't know that of course, I haven't done that much research after it, but I don't know if they're using it long term. Right. But they were definitely using it with a lot of success short term. And then with the Vivitrol, added into it as the long-term component of it, changing a lot of lives.
Yeah, you guys see how I keep moving that mic because I'm not used to having it in front of me. Yeah, no, and I think that's what I mean. Now that it's FDA approved, we'll probably see more of our medical providers and our treatment providers using that, even if it's that short term. Because just like Baptist Health's program, that first 30 days is the hardest, right? And there's a reason why they have them in there for as much as they do, because laying eyes on them, helping them through that part of the program is different than just sending them, okay, come once a week and show up, and hope in the other 6 days you're not here that you're doing okay. So I would say that that's probably something we'll see. But I'll talk with our local St. Joe Baptist Health and then some of our actual treatment providers as well, independent treatment providers, just to see what they have.
Thank you.
And one thing I just want to remind everyone is these funds that are opioid settlement funds are actually from the pharmaceutical companies from the lawsuit. They are not actual tax dollars. Just I always want to remind that. The agreement with the state was that the counties, local governments, and municipalities got 50% of those funds that were awarded, and the state got 50%. So just for the record, just want to make sure that everybody remembers that these are not tax dollars.
I think there's still some pending litigation too that
There
to
is.
go on
Yeah.
top of it too.
It's going to continue on for a little bit, yeah.
I don't remember the year, Judge, it's been too long ago, but I think it is important to note that Madison County was one of the first counties to sign on with that lawsuit to help bring those funds. The state jumped in way after the game was
Right.
already rolling.
Well, when
When they saw it was going to go through,
When
basically.
they saw the funds
We were
gonna
one of
come
the
in.
first counties to get on board with that, so.
Yeah. It's good. Any other questions? Appreciate you, Jenny. Thanks for your update. That's good stuff. Next is second reading of ordinance 2025-005. It's the Madison County Animal Control Ordinance. Susie,
Hello.
how are you doing?
I am good.
Good.
Hopefully better this second reading. All right, I have a summary of ordinance number 2025-005.
Hey, will you make sure you speak into the mic, please?
Yeah.
That microphone is your friend.
I have a summary of ordinance number 2025-005. Be it ordained by the Madison County Fiscal Court, an ordinance relating to the control and regulation of the animal population in Madison County, Kentucky. Said ordinance repealing ordinance 1909, the existing animal control ordinance, and providing for the following. Definitions within the ordinance, setting forth the duties and powers of animal control officers, and establishing policies regarding animals running at large. The seizure and impoundment of dogs, dog licensing and microchipping, vicious dogs, abandoned animals, wild and exotic animals, the humane treatment of animals, adoptions and spay and neuter, rabies vaccinations, stray cattle and stray equine, and commercial animal facilities. In addition, this ordinance establishes a fee schedule and penalties as follows. Section 17, penalties. In addition to those penalties set forth in KRS 258-990 and other applicable law, any person failing to comply with the requirements set forth in this ordinance may be fined in an amount not less than $25 nor more than $250 for each violation. Each day a violation continues constitutes a new and separate offense. Section 20, fee schedule. Fees imposed by this ordinance shall be set forth in Exhibit A and shall be subject to modification by subsequent action of the Madison County Fiscal Court. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the Madison County Judge Executive's Office, 135 West Irvine Street, 3rd floor, Richmond, Kentucky, 40475, or at the following URL, madisoncounty.ky.gov/public-notices/.
Thank you, Sissy. Appreciate it. Members of the court, y'all have heard second reading of ordinance 2025-005. What's the pleasure of the court, please?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
What precipitated this revision to the existing ordinance?
What precipitated this revision is cost of services increasing and the community's need for a running at large ordinance. Right now, we're having a lot of public complaints about animals coming off of their property and causing nuisance issues within the county, and this isn't a one-time situation, but multiple occurrences from the same animals, and we're getting pressure from the community to enforce this like other counties that neighbor us, so it's something that should have been brought about a while ago, but it's just now being brought to the table.
I know some of the fees increased a little bit too.
Yeah, so we are aiming to fix all of the animals in our care. So, of course, the adoption fees are increasing because we are going to be spaying and neutering those animals. And then the increase of the penalties is just goes in line so that we can actually get this enforced and so that there's increase of severity with the actions that they let their animals do.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right. Call the roll, please.
Master Hughes,
Yes.
Master Bodkin.
Yes.
Master Combs,
Yes.
Master Lockmiller.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes. Next, the second reading of ordinance 2025-006. This is a land use change for 70.27 acres on College Hill Road, Fike Road, from R7 and C7 agriculture to UC1 single-family residential. Bert,
Morning, everybody.
good morning.
It's ordinance number 2025-006, an ordinance of the Madison County Fiscal Court, Kentucky, approving the zone change of 70.27 acres on College Hill Road, Fike Road, Waco, Kentucky, and authorizing the amendment of the official zoning map of Madison County, Kentucky. Whereas the hereinafter described land is located in Madison County, Kentucky, and whereas the Madison County Planning Commission held a public hearing on Tuesday, March 18th, 2025, to consider a land use change request application from R7 and C7 agriculture to UC1 single-family residential. Upon presentation by the applicant and with a public comment, findings of fact were made by the Planning Commission as described in their summary of evidence, findings of fact, and recommendation to the Fiscal Court attached hereto and made a part hereof for all purposes as follows. And you'll have a list and a copy of those findings of fact. And whereas the Madison County Planning Commission, upon hearing testimony, made a motion and voted to recommend to the Madison County Fiscal Court to approve the land use change request from R7 and C7 to UC1. And whereas the Madison County Fiscal Court has reviewed said findings and recommendation of the Madison County Planning Commission, and being otherwise sufficiently advised, and does hereby adopt the findings of fact made thereby. Now therefore be it ordained and enacted by the Fiscal Court of the County of Madison, Commonwealth of Kentucky, that the land use classification of the following described property be changed by this ordinance from R7 and C7 to UC1 classification. Section 1 contains a legal description of the property. Section 2, that the Madison County GIS coordinator make the appropriate changes to the official zoning map of Madison County, Kentucky. And Section 3, that the county clerk cause this ordinance to be published in accordance with Kentucky revised statutes. This ordinance shall become effective on the date of the second reading and adoption.
All right, thank you, Bert. Members of the court, you've heard ordinance 2025-006.
Let me ask the question here. If you all are interested, if you would like to see us table this till after our town hall meeting Thursday night, if you'll raise your hand, but if you want to go ahead and let's do it, tell me. You want to go ahead with it right now? Would you want me to make a motion to postpone it? Postpone the reading? Ricky?
Well, we have a second reading of an ordinance.
I'm just taking a form because I can make a motion to table it if the people if they want me to, but if they don't. Let's get it over. Okay. I'm not going to make that motion then. All right. That's all I want to do. All right. Now, what I will do is I will make a motion, and I'm going to duplicate the motion that was made the first time that this zoning change was turned down by this fiscal court in 2023.
So you're out of line, Billy Ray. We have a second reading of an ordinance that's been read.
And we haven't had a motion yet.
And now I'm asking, you haven't let me ask for it.
Well, I just want to make sure somebody don't jump in.
I'm asking for a motion and a second.
Okay.
To approve what the planning commission has sent to us. And that's how it follows. If you don't want to approve the recommendation, then it would be voted down, and then somebody else will need to make a motion with findings of fact of why you're going to deny it. There's a whole process. There's a whole legal process. And if we want any of the council to stand up to give you that legal, well, that's fine. But I'm just giving you what the legal process is. We can't cowboy this thing. You got to follow the process. So now I'm going to go back. It's been recommended to us to approve ordinance 2025-006. Do I have a motion and a second
I
to
make a
approve?
motion to approve ordinance 2025-006.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Now we'll have discussion. So if you would like to speak, now would be time for you to speak. But we are allowing for a public comment today and a public hearing. So we have people that would like to speak on behalf of this. The normal process is the applicant's attorneys here. They will come up, answer any kind of questions, present any kind of findings, facts, things that the applicant's gone through. Then we will have public comment for those that want to speak in favor of or against. But I always let the fiscal court say stuff first. So,
Well, I'll reserve my comments till later.
okay.
Judge, let me just throw in here,
Sure.
this was a second reading, so there was an email address for the public to be able to make comment, maybe that they couldn't be here today, or I think some that even are here today. There were a few emails, I think 10 or 12 emails that Robin forwarded to me from that email address. All those emails have been forwarded to you, magistrates, and that's your purview if you want to give the weight to those that you see fit. But you all have received copies of all those emails. With that being said, the applicant is here. He has a presentation he'd like to make. If you're ready for that, we'll have him come up.
Sounds good.
Good morning, Judge, members of the court, Madam County Attorney. Preston Worley on behalf of the applicant, College Hill Investments, LLC. The principal of that LLC is here with me, Mr. Bruce Cope, in the back. We also have Dwayne Wheatley from Abacus Engineering that's been doing the preliminary engineering, and Mr. Mark McIntosh from Vision Engineering, who is a traffic engineer who did a traffic study on this. And I believe all that is in your packet. It was in the record with the Planning Commission, but I will I kind of intend to do sort of a highlight of the record that was presented with the Planning Commission that I think will address most of the issues that were raised by the public at that time, and then any issues that the court may have. And I'll then give some commentary to the previous zoning of this property and the lawsuit that followed, because I think it's good to know how we've progressed and gotten to where we are. So first off, the Planning Commission agreed unanimously that this zone change was in agreement with your comprehensive plan, particularly.
Unanimous don't mean much with our planning commission. You know that, don't you?
Certainly better than a split vote, Magistrate Hughes. But I understand your position about the Planning Commission. But the reason that they particularly found an agreement with your comprehensive plan is, one, very specifically, this area of the county and this property was put into your all's urban corridor, which means you have identified it for growth. And then particularly, because of the more rural nature of this area, this was the lowest density development that could be proposed within the urban corridor, single-family residential. It is right across the street from a similar single-family residential community. But then particularly your comprehensive plan goals and objectives, which this court put forward and then sent to the Planning Commission, says that you have a need to provide a range of housing opportunities, including affordable housing options. You encourage new residential development in areas that currently or are planned to have adequate infrastructure. We'll talk about that briefly. And that you want to look to areas that, of course, can have water, sewer capacity, that sort of thing. So in that planning hearing, we talked about that there was a concept presented that would be, you've heard the number 192 single-family homes. That is a maximum number. That would be if everything worked with the topography, with the engineering, with the sewering, that would be your maximum number. And of course, the developer would like to get as many units as he could in there, but I want to keep in mind that that's your maximum that was presented. With that proposal of up to 190 units, we have a letter from Northern Madison County Sanitation District and a letter from Madison County Utilities, both of which say that there could be adequate sewer capacity brought to the property and that there is adequate water capacity for both fire hydrants and residential uses. So there is enough water and sewer capacity that can be brought to the property. And I think that's important because several of the emails that you've sent, and I think some of the things you've heard from the public talk about sanitation issues in that part of the county, because most of the development out there has been on septic. And what's the capacity there? Well, we now know if the developer chooses to build that dense of that big of a build out, he could bring sewer onto the property, which that again furthers the investment that this court has made in your sewer capacity over the past several years. You've done a great job expanding that. So, along with the water and sewer capacity, it was talked about that it is also near Waco Fire Department. And so this is the type of places that your comprehensive plan calls for development. But again, this is single-family development. We've seen more like multifamily development, dense development more in the northern part of the county where your comprehensive plan calls for it and within the city limits. Here, a single-family development recognizes the more rural nature of Waco and College Hill, and it just allows more people to have the opportunity to live in that very special part of the county and address your housing needs, which I'll come back to that again too. Also, we presented a traffic study this time around, and there was not a traffic study previously. I'll mention that. And this traffic study concluded that there's ample sight distance here of at least 250 feet going either way of where the turn would be, and that's what the traffic manuals call for, that an unsignalized intersection would currently have a level service of C and would continue to have a level service of C with this development. It would be no material change to the area. It showed that while there is a perception of accidents in the area, that those accidents are further north on College Hill. They're not in this particular area. And that those were mostly single-car accidents, so it's not a conflict point, more traffic problem. A matter of fact, what was actually showed in the past 5 years, there had been a little over 20 accidents, is what the traffic study found, and only 2 of those were injury accidents, and those were up more close to Flatwoods Christian Church, and so on further north on the property. And so again, the level service would be unchanged, and that a turn lane was not warranted. So I bring all that up because I want to address some of the issues in the previous lawsuit, but I want to finish with what you all know is that Madison County has a significant housing need. There's a housing shortage. In your March 11th meeting, Mr. Thomas gave a presentation about the housing needs in the county and how they're not being met, not being kept up with. And in fact, Magistrate Hughes brought forward even more information from Kentucky Housing Corporation that showed that our 2040 population estimate, we were probably going to hit by the end of this decade, and that we were some 2,500 housing units short with those calculations. So that's what the Planning Commission took into account, that there's adequate infrastructure, there is no material safety change, and we need the housing. And that's why they thought that this was an agreement with the comprehensive plan. Now, a bit of the elephant in the room. Magistrate Hughes brought to everyone's attention at first reading that this case was brought before the Planning Commission in 22. They, in 22, also found it was in agreement with the comprehensive plan. Fiscal Court disagreed in a split vote, 3-2. There's a little bit of difference between the unanimous and the split in Magistrate Hughes, and denied. Then the property owner at the time, Shannon Renfro, filed a lawsuit to appeal the Fiscal Court. Now, that's not a vindictive lawsuit. He wasn't coming after the county. That's protecting his property rights, and trying to say that he thought that the Fiscal Court did it wrong. Judge Mayer said the Fiscal Court did not violate the law. Now, Judge Mayer did not say that the Fiscal Court was correct on the merits of the case. She didn't address that. She just simply said that the law was followed in the Fiscal Court's decision. So what's different between 22 and now? Well, first off, Kentucky law requires you to wait a full year at least a year before you can bring back a case that was denied. So the applicant has waited at least 2.5 years now. The judge pointed out, and she did say, Magistrate Hughes was right, that you are not bound to the comprehensive plan like a straitjacket. That's true. That's a case out of Warren County that he quoted, and that is Kentucky law. It doesn't say you can disregard the comprehensive plan. What Judge Mayer said is you should use the comprehensive plan as your guide unless there is substantial evidence that you believe would allow you to deviate. And at the time, what was talked about was potential traffic safety issues. There was no traffic study last time. Now there is a traffic study that shows objective standards that there will be no material safety issue on College Hill Road with this presentation. There was some talk about congestion on Highway 52. You've got to be careful about how far you go away from a project and say that that road is affected or not affected, because 52 is a state highway. But we also now know, difference between 22 and now, the chemical demilitarization project at the Bluegrass Ordinance is coming to an end. That's a lot of traffic in and out of that area. We also know that the state, in their shift priority structures, has given a priority to widening 52. So if you want to look at College Hill Road also, we know from 22 to now that the elementary school is moving to Mobberly. So that's less traffic on College Hill, and we know that there are developments and changes to 52. Those are all different than what the judge says was looked at that time. The judge pointed out that people didn't know about whether there was sewer line access or water issues. We now know today that there is sewer capacity and water capacity. There was a debate as to whether a turn lane would be needed. Nobody knew that at 22. It wasn't discussed. Now our traffic study shows a turn lane will not be needed.
And when you say 22, you're meaning 2022?
That's
Is
correct.
That the year? 20, okay.
That's correct. So the time when this was previously denied and the lawsuit filed was 2022. And then there was a general lack of knowledge about the details of the project, and this time we have a very detailed concept and very detailed studies that the applicant has done. So I think it's important to point out that yes, this project did come before you almost 3 years ago and did go through a lawsuit process. And so what's now different between then and now? The judge pointed out there's no dispute back then it was in agreement with the comprehensive plan. Again, it is in agreement with the comprehensive plan now. And the issues that the public had concerns with and the court had concerns with, we now have different answers, or answers where there were none, from 2022 to today. So all by way of saying this project is in agreement with your comprehensive plan. It's housing that you need. This is a low-density residential project that respects the rural nature of the area. We know that there's ample water sewer capacity and traffic infrastructure, and that's where you want to put your development. And answers to questions that existed then are different, or we have answers that show us that those are no longer concerns. So I would put to you that last time, while the judge said you didn't have to follow the comprehensive plan like a straitjacket, and you never do, it is your guide. And this time it guides you to the same conclusion, and all of the concerns that the judge recognized were legitimate are alleviated now. They are not here anymore. And so that's why now, given the time from the last denial to now, that's why you give it that at least a year to see what changes. Things have changed, and this project is ready to provide the housing that you need. So thank you, Judge. I know that there's members of the public here. I doubt they're here to help me. So if you would give me an opportunity, just a short rebuttal and closing after they've had an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Yep. Preston, before you go, does any members of the court have any questions or anything to the applicant?
Just one comment, and that's the traffic study that you addressed, which is fine, was not in the packet. There's no traffic study in our packet.
Yeah,
It was in the planning commission's packet.
yeah.
It was part of the record with the planning commission. I'm sorry, I didn't know that you all didn't have it with you, but I've got a copy here and be happy to answer any specific questions that any may have.
You've explained it, that's fine.
Yeah, thank you.
A question I have, Preston, on that traffic study, when they do a traffic study like that, do they take into account the things that are going to happen, like that you know is going to happen? Do they know that, Waco Elementary School is moving? Do they know that the Bluegrass Army Depot, is 1,400 people?
So they take into account all of the development and changes that they're aware of that have been, local governments submit to the state the information about the development that's going around, and that helps produce the traffic manual counts and things that they do. And so they do take that into account. And then if it's not directly addressed in the numbers, it would mean that that would be even a better improvement. So like I say, if Mr. McIntosh didn't take into account that the Bluegrass Army Depot is shutting down, his numbers still show that this is not a traffic concern, and it would be even better, even less of a concern if he didn't take that into account. So he's here, I could get him to address, but yes, generally, in some cases, but specifically in others, they take into account all the development that is around.
Can Mr. McIntosh answer that question then? Did he take into account the Waco school moving and the Bluegrass Army Depot is not shutting down? It's just the demilitarization is closing, yeah.
So, Judge, members of the court, I'm Mark McIntosh. I'm with Vision Engineering. That's right. We did the counts with all this in place, so it's actually more conservative to have the higher numbers in place there on Irvin Road 52.
So you did know Waco, you put in your calculations that Waco School was relocating?
We didn't reduce or lessen anything. We just.
Oh, you didn't? You just took it as is? Okay.
I think what he's saying is those sort of less than empirical things that are happening make his study even better because he took a more conservative approach that not taking into account that those things are happening.
Right. Yeah, if you took it as of today, then the school goes away, then that lessens the traffic impact,
Correct.
right? Yeah,
Correct.
is what you're saying.
Yeah, correct. I'm sorry, I didn't answer your question very well.
It's okay. No, it's good. Thank you. Thank you. Members of the court, anybody? Go ahead. All right, thank you very much. So next we'll have public comment, and if it's okay with the group, I'm just going to go down the list people that signed in, and so I'll start with Jenny. Can I say Jenny, or do you want me to say Virginia?
Well, I was going officially, yeah.
Virginia Stevens.
3 minutes?
I'm sorry, no, ma'am.
Oh, okay, I said 3 minutes.
No.
Okay.
No, we're not.
Pull that mic down.
Yeah. Can you hear
Yeah.
me? All right. I'm going to just kind of address some of the things he did. One, the school moving will have no impact at all on his study because the school's on a totally different road. So you're still going to have the same traffic on College Hill Road, okay? So now we got to take consideration, you got 192 houses on 70 acres, and
Jenny, I just want to make this group understand. So we've changed how our public comment works, and we have an ordinance that Fiscal Court presented. That's during the public comment period of the agenda. That's not the same as what we're doing right now. So I've had them turn off the clock. So it's not the same, okay?
You can take an hour if you want.
Yeah, and I'm not going to let you take an hour. I'm not going to let that happen, but I want people here to feel like they've been heard.
Right.
And so I think some of my people are confused of what this period is right now, okay? So I just start
I'm not
over.
going to stop at 3 minutes anyway.
Start over.
Yeah, it has
So
to.
I'm sorry
All right.
for the
Okay.
confusion, okay?
All right. So I'll address that first. However, what study that we can't know about is the effect of 192 houses and maybe 300 vehicles, being conservative, and during coming in out of that entrance on College Hill Road, what impact will that have? If you're coming from College Hill, turning left, and there's many cars coming up, and there is an S curve starting, and there is thing, but if it's stopped up far enough, when you come around that curve at Flatwoods, what do we know the impact's going to be on those cars turning, since you're not going to have a turning lane? Number two, in a disaster, how are you going to get everybody out of there when you have 192 homes and you have all those houses coming up from College Hill? Or if you need to get there, what do? You have two options to get out of there, or you have three. You got College Hill, but if it's blocked, then you have Oakley Wells, which is not a safe road, and then you have Cane Springs. So you're really putting people's lives in danger that live past that. If something, should happen, they're not going to get out of there. You got Flint Road that's got to get out of there. You got Bend Road. You got all these people. Your problem is College Hill. There's, I think, 2,000 vehicles that travel College Hill Road. But you have 22,000 cars that turn left off the bypass onto 52. You only lose, and now all these studies, I call the state, all these are 2022, 21, 2023, I think is the oldest study. So when you get to Speedville, the cars that are still going through there is 11,000. All right, so you lose 11,000 in between there. Now, this is prior Lake Vista. This is prior Duff's Landing. This is prior Firebrook. All right, so I don't know what that would be. So between there and the bridge, it drops down, in the Estill County Bridge, it drops down to 8,000. So you got 4,000 vehicles that you lose, in between there. So that's quite a bit of traffic on that road. Some people think it's just an inconvenience that you've got to wait on that road sometimes during the day. All right? So let me tell you what an inconvenience is. I have been known to have to travel that road 4 times a day. I get children to school in Richmond, rush home, take care of my parents, get them to doctor's appointments, grocery stores, whatever. Get them back home, rush back to town, pick up grandchildren, get them home. And then if I have something that evening, or if they have something that evening, I help and get them to that. If I go to the grocery store, which I do early in the mornings, then I'm on there 5 times a day. If you get stuck in any of that traffic, you're looking at an hour to get home. I know of a doctor's office that worked from 8:30 to 5. Most of their people live either in Waco or Irvin. They changed their hours from 8 to 4:30 because if they got off at 5, between the bypass and the traffic congestion, it took them over an hour to get home. If they got off at 4:30, it took them 30 minutes to get home. So, yeah, it's an inconvenience. But when you got to go home and fix supper, when you got children and you need help get homework, if you got housework to do, because I can tell you as a woman, your day doesn't end when you get off work. So it's an inconvenience. You get a phone call from your mother. I just got home. The house is wide open. I can't find your dad. He's not answering his cell phone. And there's a strange car in my drive with people I don't know. Now, instead of getting her car and running, she just went and sat on her front porch and called me. I called 911. They didn't have any, and I'm not knocking because we don't have enough. They didn't have anyone to get to her soon in that area. I'm stuck in traffic. I'm inconvenienced. I start calling the phone line, calling every neighbor, get to my mother, get to my mother. If you got a gun, get there. All the way there, I am praying. Watch over my family. Where is my dad? Now, my dad has dementia, okay? So I was inconvenienced getting through that traffic. Still beat the sheriff's department there, okay? And someone had came to my dad's house, got him in a car, his own vehicle, and wanted him to show him something that they were planning on stealing. That's one time his dementia was handy because he couldn't remember where it was a vehicle they were stealing. It's a collector's vehicle. He couldn't remember exactly where it was at. I get there, tell the gentleman never come back. I know who he is because he put death threats against me before. So that traffic, that extra time it took me to get there, all that worry, yes, if it's an inconvenience, but it could have meant the life and death of my father. It could have meant the life and death of my mother. You keep adding houses and you keep adding houses on 52. It's not just inconvenience. It could be a matter of life and death. Ask all the people who have lost lives on there. Was it an inconvenience that your family member died? 2 weeks ago, you had a wreck there at the intersection of where you turn left onto College Hill Road. Someone got T-boned. Thank Lord, it was just an inconvenience, and their car was tore up, and their lives were hurt. But that, you know why? Because people are in a hurry, and the more traffic you put, the more dangerous that road becomes. Now, Waco school moving has nothing to do with College Hill Road. However, it is moving out to Speeble Road, which is there at Marbley, which is where your major problem is. There are no turn lanes there. There is no widening. The road's already down to 2 lanes. I do not know, and I addressed this with Chris Clark with the Madison County Board of Education, who's over construction. I said, hey, did you talk to the State Department about this intersection? Are we going to try to get turning lanes there? What are we going to do to get that traffic flowing? Because sometimes at 7:30 in the morning, and I don't know how familiar you are with Waco, but if you're going to Richmond around 7:30 when the traffic's heavy, and someone wants to turn left onto Speeble coming from Waco, they can't turn left until all the cars get by. So you come around Muddy Creek curve there, you better be ready to stop because traffic is backed all the way up to that intersection. Now, luckily or unluckily, I don't know, a lot of people take that Marbley Loop, so then you're putting heavy traffic on Marbley Loop to try to beat that. The reason you have so many accidents there and everything, and fender benders and all that, is because people are inconvenienced, they're frustrated, they're running late. So when they finally make it through that light, they take off, and lo and behold, somebody's got to make a turn there at Dove's Landing, and you got to slam on your brakes and wait till they can make that turn at Dove's Landing. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when the school moves there. It's going to be, I don't know. I talked to the state. They're nowhere close to widening the road on 52, nowhere close. The biggest issue is Muddy Creek Bridge. That's a big, big project. The money's not there. Everything's not there yet. So it's going to be a 2-lane road for a long, long, long time. They are trying to figure out if they can go ahead and put the turning lanes. But I don't know about you, but I have dealt with the state, and they get no hurry. They got to study, they got to study, they got to study, and then by then, they come up with their plans, and then by the time they get the money, you're probably looking several years down the road. So it just makes it dangerous, more dangerous. Since all this study and since this other we've had, Dove's Landing has 76 stints housing in it. You got Lake Vista that has 80-something homes in it. You got Farbrook, who has 80-something homes approved, and then they're asking approval for 157 more homes. That's quite a bit of housing that you put right there where we're putting the school. All right? So now you're even making a bigger mess of that intersection, which is what that's what everybody in that area is concerned about, because whether you're on College Hill Road or not, you are on 52. You have nowhere else to go. So you have all this housing, and you want to add 192 more housing. Okay. So we're probably close to 600 houses, if not more. We have a school right now that has 458 kids enrolled. We're really thinking big time. We're building a school that houses 500 children. If we put all this housing in there, where in the heck are we going to put these extra kids? You can't tell me that none of these houses are going to have school-age children in it. So now we're going to have to build another school, or we're going to have to do this, that, and our taxes are going to raise. Housing. We don't have enough housing. I talked with the Kentucky Housing Authority, and I've talked to some realtor stuff, and all their studies is affordable housing. So I went on to your comprehensive plan and the median income, and it was a little over $50,000, but I rounded it up to $51,000. So I said, hey, what kind of house can they afford? And I put on there they had $250 in extra bills which I don't know anybody that would have that if have a car or anything like that. But I kind of be lowball everything. Hey, they got $5,000 to pay down on it. The most house that they could afford is $145,757. I guarantee you there will not be one house in that development under $275,000. So once again, we're not doing anything for that housing shortage. Nothing. We're just adding more houses so people can move into our communities and run it, really, is what you're looking at. You're running our Waco community. I have a lot, but I'm going to do just one more thing before my air's up. Flooding. All right. Now, we had a notice in the paper for College Hill Investments, and it was filed with the Energy and Environmental Cabinet to impact approximately 200 lineal feet of an unnamed tributary to Sand Spring Branch. It's a blue line stream, and they want to put a 96-inch diameter culvert related to adjacent field. All right, that's 8 feet, 96 inches. That's a big culvert. This stream that's talking to comes down College Hill Road by Flint Road, or Fike Road, by Fike Road, and empties out into Waco Loop Road. You got that stream coming there, and then you have another stream on the opposite side of Waco Loop Road coming from Bobby. And right now, during normal times, without 192 houses up there, it floods. And as a matter of fact, last week it was a major flood with that heavy rain. We got a real heavy rain at Waco. I cannot imagine what kind of flooding we will have when you put an 8-foot culvert up there to drain that water, and it's rushing, because they're at the school and all that. Everything's on a hill, and it comes down to the bottom. All that water rushing down through there. At this point, you're looking at a major disaster on the flooding. And as a matter of fact, she couldn't be here, but Francis Click and them asked me to this. They said, our main concern is the amount of runoff from the possible 190 roofs that will increase the blue stream flooding into Waco by 10%, according to studies that they had researched. We have had water across the road most of the spring without those roofs. The plans have not included a water catch basin, but an 8-foot drain culvert that can definitely increase runoff into Waco and the properties in between. So she has the same concern I have. I have concern about flooding. I have concern about the traffic on 52. I have the concern that we're building houses that aren't meeting the housing shortage we have, but it's just going to make someone richer while degrading our community. Now, I know a lot of people have a lot more to say. I got a lot more to say, but I'm just going to stop it right there. We don't have a park there. We don't have businesses there. We don't have anything there that technically should draw dense housing. All we have is a great community where people watch after each other, that I feel like if you put that 192 houses in there, it's going to destroy that community. One more thing. I cannot believe that you're going to put 192 houses with one entrance into it and out of it. And that property goes way back in behind where the Waco School is. And there is no way out but one way. And stuff. You can't tell me that's not going to impact College Hill Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Next is Margaret Powell. Okay.
Jenny said most of the things that I probably would like to say. One in particular is, have any of you been out to College Hill Road other than Billy Ray? Okay. Have you watched the traffic? Did you see the S-curve? Have you been there in the wintertime? I remember when we first moved out to College Hill, I'm 5.75 miles north of 52, but that's my access road to Richmond. And there were times when we had to stop up on 52, and somebody'd stop at the four-way down below to keep cars from coming so we could get up to the top of the hill. That was before they took care of snow removal. We didn't have that snow removal this past winter, and we had a lot of problems. If you can't stop at the four-way once you start down that hill, and it's just a short distance from the entrance and exit. And I have a question. Why is it called here on College Hill / Fike Road? It doesn't access Fike Road at all. I'm curious. Anybody know? Is it just to identify the location?
That's the way it was identified on the PVA map, and then obviously.
Sorry, Bert, but people won't be able to hear it. You can either come to my mic.
Oh, I'll share.
She can step
I
up.
was just going to say that there wasn't an address on this property on the 911 map, so we used the physical description that was on the PVA map, as well as the legal description that you'll see in the ordinance.
Okay, all right. Well, that takes care of that then. I have a concern too about the people that border this property. None of them want this. They've all made it clear they do not want this number of houses on College Hill Road. Like Jenny said, one entrance and exit. That's a danger if you ever have to move in a hurry. You can't do that. You're going to have a traffic jam that you won't believe, and people are going to get hurt. My husband and I both have had reasons to have to call 911. It takes a long time for them to get to 1775 College Hill Road. Any traffic jams, slowdowns right there could be life and death for us. And my concern is these people don't want it. And I'm afraid that if you vote for this, well, no, I hope if you do vote for this, you feel bought.
Thank you, Ms. Powell. Ricky?
Yeah, I don't have much to say.
And I'm just going to say, for the record, I'm just going to say your full name, Ricky McKinney.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. I asked the zoning board the same question, like, why are we here? Billy Ray brought this up too. You guys voted against this two and a half years ago. Preston Worley keeps saying all this stuff is addressed. Nothing has changed in 2.5 years. Not one thing. The only thing they've got is a different lawyer, and but all of our concerns, everything is the same. Nothing has changed. Waco School will be built. I don't know. Can anybody tell me when Waco School will be built and ready to occupy? Nobody knows. So we're going to have the same problems. It wasn't ready 2.5 years ago. You all agreed on that, and it's not ready now. So that's basically all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky. Wilson Bratcher.
Members of the court, everybody. My name is Tuck Bratcher. Lived on Fike Road in Waco all my life. My family's lived there for 85 years. I just ask that you vote no in consideration of this zone change to respect the rural heritage of our community so that those of us who are looking forward to the rest of our lives and the ones who will come in the generations after us can inherit a rural, nice community where it's a peaceful place to live, like we've all grown to know and love in that area. I feel like I don't even have to cite the traffic concerns at this point. I just started driving, and all I can say is I'm glad I don't live on College Hill if this does happen. That single four-way intersection at the bottom, doesn't make much sense to me. That's all I really have to say. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Wilson. Merle Lakes.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
My property borders this property down one side and in the back, probably for maybe a half a mile. And I have a lot of concerns. I noticed the map, unless I was looking at it wrong, that we seen in the zoning, it showed like a gradual curve, but this is a S curve. And this entrance is part of the curve. And then you got the Waco Heights just right past that, the people coming out of there. I was talking to my sister, and she's talking to one of the neighbors who lives in the curve. He said there's a wreck there every week or so. And my granddaughter wrecked in that curve. My brother-in-law wrecked in that curve. There's been a lot of wrecks. If you drive College Hill very much, you'll see them yards tore up where people's run up in the yards. And that's one concern. But my daughter and son-in-law, grandkids, they live just right past the Masonic Lodge there. You could probably take a rock and throw and hit their property. And they're considered moving because of this, because they know how the traffic is now. And there is a thing called noise pollution. And so I bought 40 acres. I've been there about 37 years, and I enjoy the quietness. And I'm not against the growth, but I do think this is the wrong place to put a subdivision. And I don't see, like what Ricky was saying, maybe to echo a little bit what he said, if the fiscal court voted and then they were took to court by the zoning, the way I understand it, and then the judge, that court said, still voted in our favor. I mean, how's this legal? What makes it not legal now? I mean, how can you go against two court decisions? The fiscal court voted for the people, and then they were took to court, and then that judge voted for us. So I don't see how this is legal, really. And but the noise pollution, that's a real thing. And, you know, people can say whatever, you know, the lawyers or whoever, but if you live there, you know, I think it was said before in the zoning, take 8 seconds to get out from the stop sign. That's a joke, anybody that lives there. And I think he also said in the zoning meeting that this would complement the community. But I wonder if anybody in this room that lives on College Hill Road or in Waco would think this is going to complement the community. I don't think so. So I just ask all of you people when you vote, I know we got Judge Taylor, he's a developer. I don't hold that against you. You know, I know I'm not against, but this is just a bad place to put it, and it's been voted down twice. And I just ask that you just consider put yourself in our place, you know, and don't vote just for the county to get more money, you know, through taxes, through all the houses, all the property taxes, or for the sewer and the utilities. I know that's all going to be more money for the county, but there's some things like safety is more important than money. And I guess that's about all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Lakes. Lorena Hall.
Two and a half years ago, others and I stood before this court and explained why this proposed subdivision is not a good fit for Waco. We shared traffic backup concerns and infrastructure. Accident concerns, placement of entry to the proposed subdivision, and lack of sewer in the area. I know he addressed the sewer, but my question is on the sewer. It stops down at the four-way stop. Yes, he can run it there, but at whose expense? Is it going to be the builder's expense, or is it going to end up being a taxpayer expense that the taxpayers don't know about? That's a concern of mine. You know, I know it's I'm trying to be very politically correct here. I know that it is money, money, money. People, when you die, you can't take it with you. And look what you've left for generations to come. Think about that. Think what we've done to this county in the last few years. Yes, I know we need housing, but We don't need that much housing. Go out to Vista Landing that was denied and then brought back and reapproved. Go out there and look how many of those houses are sitting empty out there. And you know what's going to happen? Because I know the people that developed that. The big developer that came not from here, from Lexington, and I'm sure our attorney who sits on the city council in Lexington is well aware, what he will do, and he has already said, he will rent those houses. Does he care who he rents them to? No. Does he care what he brings into our community? No. And is the same thing going to happen? I see the subdivisions that are built on Brea Road by the proposed contractor. I'm not impressed. I love my community. My family has lived there for over 70 years. I take pride in my home. I take pride in where I live. Yes, I have called in on some junky places on the road that I live on. And you know what I was told? The guy did try, your officer, he did try to get the people to clean it up. One of them did. The other one, he went out there and finally he told me that it would be left up to the county attorney, and nothing against you, Ms. Hammonds, that whether that would be enforced. Who is going to monitor what this subdivision looks like in 10 years? Nobody. Who's going to care what it's done to Waco? Nobody. I care. My children live on the same 70 acres that my late husband's family purchased when they were expecting him. My grandchildren let their future home. I don't want that taken away from them. You may call it an inconvenience. I call it a horrible, horrible thing to do to Waco, to do to my family and all these people that have begged you, basically begging you not to let this happen to our community. Yes, traffic is horrible. And what I love is that these people come in and they bring their survey people in here who think they know our community. They have no idea. You can go and sit and look at anything for 30 minutes, an hour, or 2 hours and make a consensus in your own mind. But live there, be there, know what's going on. And you know what? What I wrote, I didn't follow anything of what I wrote down here. I didn't, because it's coming from my heart, just like it's coming from these people's heart. You need to look inside of your heart and say, really, honestly, is it about the almighty tax dollar? Is it really, honestly, about more housing for Madison County? Is it? Or is it about the almighty dollar? I'm not trying to be mean to you all. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. But somebody has to look in their heart and see what the right thing to do is, not the money-making thing, because he can develop like he has all over this county and walk away and then doesn't care what happens. And nothing against him. I'm not trying to be mean to Mr. Cope. And yes, I can answer how this was redone, because if this doesn't pass for Mr. Cope, he can sell it to Mr. Worley's family or whoever's family. They can come back and bring it before this court. And we have to do this fight all over again. We are willing to fight. We do not want this. We do not want this. And last time, 3 former magistrates, knocked this down. They knocked this down. Please, please look into your heart and vote no on this. Vote no. And all the lawyer training in the world and all of his little studies that he has is not going to change the fact that this is not the appropriate subdivision for Waco. It is not in the appropriate place, and we don't need it. We don't want it. We don't need it. Madison County doesn't need it, because if you're talking low income, and we keep hearing low income houses, guarantee you nobody's going to build a $175,000 house in that subdivision. They may look like a lot less than that, because like I said, I've seen some of the houses. Not impressed at all. And that's here nor there. It is do the right thing, Mr. Combs. Do the right thing, Mr. Luckmuller. Do the right thing, Mr. Bodkin. Do the right thing, Judge Taylor. Do the right thing, Mr. Hughes. Vote no on this. Be for the people in your county, not the people you're trying to bring here from California, from New York. Look at all the out-of-state tags. And we talk about the depot going away. People act like there's 1,400 cars there every day. No, there's not, because they have different shifts. So don't make it look like, oh, when the when the destruction's over, we're not going to have, we may not have as many cars, but we don't have 1,400. That's not what I'm saying. That is not all contributed to the high traffic that we have. So when you look at it with an open mind, not with a closed mind. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but everything you've heard and what the judge upheld us, and we can pick pieces out of her, of what she said. We can pick pieces out. But when you he said, when you read through it, she really saw the concerns that we had, and she agreed with those. And the concerns are still there, no matter what kind of picture they want to paint. They're still there. They're still there. Again, I ask you to look into your heart for our community, for my children, for Tucker, for his family, for all the families that live out there, and want our family, want our community to stay as it is. And we're not doing that to be selfish. We're doing that because we don't want the crime. We don't want all these other things that come along with the development of properties and getting bigger. And again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to any of you. Please don't think that. I just think sometimes people need a wake-up call. People need a wake-up call. We can call it an inconvenience. We can call it whatever we want to call it. But we all that live there, we know what it is. We know what it's like. And we love our community. And we want our safety. We want our safety to be in your minds, because I feel like that's like an afterthought sometimes. So please, listen to what we've said. We don't have a high-paid attorney. We're just common people, hardworking people, citizens of Madison County, not Fayette County, citizens of Madison County, that want you all to listen to us, want you to listen to us. Thank you, and I appreciate it. Ms. Hammonds, have you ever heard of DARE? Has that been brought up? I thought of that when you were talking about the... Yes. Yeah, yeah. Oh, good. That, I think that was a success. I taught school and had it. Yeah, that was I just want to say that, too.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Mark McIntosh. Mark, did you want to address? You were on here. You just thought you needed to sign. Okay. Anna Weicker. And thank you for your parentheses. That makes me pronounce your name correctly, because I would have probably said Wicker, So I'm sure it's why you do that.
I've answered to a whole variety of variations of it, so make sure this is on the short setting. First of all, thank you so much for allowing the opportunity for folks to come in this morning and voice their concerns and opinions. I'm a current resident of Waco. We rented in the central Kentucky area for quite some time before we bought our farm at the corner of Drowning Creek and Fike Road. A couple years back, it's one of the oldest houses in the area, and you can definitely tell, but we're working on getting it fixed up. And we have a little farm out there. My husband has a small business. And I've got just a few concerns that I would like to raise about the proposed College Hill development. I'll keep it brief because so many of these lovely folks here today have already said their concerns in a much more articulate way than I'll be able to. My background is in natural resource management, and I worked in local government for quite some time, so I really am aware that you all sometimes have hard decisions facing you, and I respect that, and I appreciate that so much. I hope when you make this decision, though, that you will side with the residents of Waco and beyond when you make this choice. A few of my concerns about the development are as follows. Loss of farmland, I don't believe that is news to anybody, but according to USDA data, Kentucky has lost over 500,000 acres of agricultural land in 2017 to 2022. So just in that 5-year span, I think that comes to almost 300 acres per day that Kentucky is losing of our agricultural farmland.
And that trend is certainly continuing. So, and once that agriculture is turned into urban sprawl, it's not going to be reversed in our lifetime, and probably not in my kids' lifetime or their kids' lifetime. It's a pretty permanent choice that we're making today as far as the expansion of Madison County. It's not something easily undone. And in addition to depending on that farm for, farmland for people's livelihood, there are lots of small-scale homesteaders nowadays living in rural communities like Waco who are just providing for themselves and their families on, smaller acreage. And the ability of homeowners to be able to provide for themselves and supplement ever-increasing food costs will disappear as rural communities like Waco are transformed into more suburban developments. As far as the character of the Waco area, I do not believe that this development will be in keeping with that character. Our state is famous for its rural beauty, right? Well, that's what Kentucky's all about. Any state can have suburban sprawl. No state can replicate Kentucky's beautiful farmland. Waco, Madison County in general is very lucky in this regard, and I believe that we need to focus on improving and protecting our incredible rural resources, not paving them over and turning them into subdivisions. Decisions made today will decide, again, how Madison County looks in the future, well past when any of us are here. And I will say I'm certainly not anti-development. I don't believe that many Madison Countyans are. But I don't believe that allowing reckless housing development to overtake farms is the best option, rather than focusing on developing and improving existing urban and suburban areas. I do believe that this will change the character of Waco for the worse. The infrastructure, lots of folks have already said lots of things, again, in a much more articulate way than I will be able to as far as the traffic. I understand that there was a traffic study. I will say, I will add my input to the words that everyone else has already spoken, that it is very congested. And I'm not living on College Hill. My property outlets onto Fike Road, so I drive down Fike Road, but from Fike Road, I get onto Waco Loop, I get onto 52, and it is very, congested. There are many, many times if you're trying to get into Richmond or back from Richmond to Waco during rush hour, you would be better served to go on one-lane back roads, which puts additional stress on Brassfield, Bybee, Speedball Road, some of those like single-lane back roads that you can take to get in and out of Richmond. So there's a lot that is, being impacted outside of just College Hill and even 52, because during rush hour, I will do anything that I can to avoid 52. Again, many other people have said it much more articulately. I will just say, anecdotally, I just had a baby at St. Joe's in Lexington, and I don't know if I've ever been more thankful that I went into labor at 1 in the morning instead of 5 p.m., because that would have just been a whole adventure on 52 trying to get to Lexington in a rush during the 8 a.m. or 5 p.m. times. Really quickly, I do just want to touch on the natural resource value of this area. Again, that's what my academic and career background is in. Because of its rural character, rich farmland, streams, and creeks, and our proximity to the Kentucky River, Waco's very fortunate to have a great diversity of wildlife and natural resources. During a recent drive-by of that area that's been proposed for this development, I rolled my window down and I took a listen, and I heard about 20 different species of birds that are present currently and more than likely nesting nearby. And this includes multiple species that have experienced extreme declines in the last 50 years due to loss of habitat like grasslands, woodlands, open meadows, old agriculture like there is lots of out in Waco. In the last several weeks alone, my family's encountered a range of wildlife, including gray and red foxes, owls. We even had a black bear trotting through there the other day, which was very cool to see. And reckless expansion of urban sprawl into areas like this in Madison County, like this proposed development on College Hill, threaten the ecological integrity of our county, but it also erodes, an important cultural tradition that we have of hunting, fishing, and trapping, and, you know, the importance that many of us as Kentuckians put in the natural environment around us. In closing, the College Hill property is not just one development, it's a choice about the direction that Madison County is going. I hope that you respect the rights and wishes of Waco's current residents and landowners over this hypothetical development opportunity. Thanks again for letting me speak. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate it. All right, that's the end of our public engagement, public comments. At this time, we'll have the applicant come back up for any final comments. And then the court has any questions, obviously, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Judge. Let me adjust this here. Thank you, Judge, and I'll be quick. Just want to address a few of the items that were brought up, and then kind of close. I think first it needs to be said again, the different roles between the circuit court and this court. The circuit court did not in any way say that the previous zone change was right or wrong or shouldn't have been done.
Can you speak a little farther into the mic?
Yeah,
For some
sure.
reason I'm not hearing.
I'm sorry. I'm
That's
sorry.
all right.
The Madison Circuit Court, and this is Judge Mayer's opinion, she said specifically that it is not her job to replace the judgment of the legislative body. She doesn't speak to yes or no on a zone change. All she spoke to is, did the court follow the law when they made their decision? And I'll put to you that they did. While I disagree with the decision that was made, they did follow the law. And she said specifically the reason she believes they follow the law is because items were discussed and evidence put forward that showed that there were some concerns about sewer traffic primarily. And as I put to you today, and reading directly from her opinion, each of those issues either was not addressed by the applicant at the time, or Magistrate Tudor presented some information about traffic that was not rebutted by the applicant at that time. And that's why the judge said you could deviate from the comprehensive plan. She didn't say you could disregard the comprehensive plan, and now we've come back to you with the Planning Commission saying this is an agreement with the comp plan, and here are all the issues that Judge Mayer identified that were of concern for the court that we now believe we have addressed with you and shown that they are not a problem. Most specifically, the sewer and the traffic. I want to talk a little bit about the traffic concerns. And particularly Ms. Stevens talked about 300-something vehicles. There was a discussion even that, with the reduction at the depot, but those people don't all work at the same time. Well, that's how we do the traffic studies. That's how we know that it's not going to affect materially affect the safety of that road. Because what you look at in a traffic count is everybody lives in these 192 units. If we build all 192 homes, may not, they don't leave at the same time. They don't drive at the same time. And you look at the peak hours in the morning when people leave for work and when they come home in the afternoon. And at those peak hours, exiting out of this new subdivision, if developed, will be 100 vehicles over the entire hour, not at the same time. Same thing coming home, entering, just a little over 100. So, yeah, that's more traffic, but it's traffic that the road can withstand. And that's why it still has a level of service of C now. It will have a level of service of C then. And also in this traffic study is a turn lane warrant where they go through all of the different mechanisms of turning in and out from all different directions and whether you'd need a turn lane. According to the State Highway Traffic Manual, it does not need a turn lane. It's not going to be effect enough to even need to change the road. And then where they also look at, people talk about the four-way stop, College Hill and 52. And somebody aptly mentioned 8 seconds, and they got that from the Planning Commission. Right now, as it sits, it takes 8 seconds at that light, on average, throughout the day, of delay when you're waiting for the light to turn. Traffic study shows that this will go from a level of service A of 8 seconds to a level of service A of 16 seconds. So it may create an 8-second delay at its worst time during that peak hour. And so that's why you do the studies. because we all have a perception of traffic. And I'll put to you, there is traffic there. But the reason that you do these studies is so that you can determine what the traffic engineers and experts would do safety-wise. And they say they don't need to do anything safety-wise here. This will be safe, even with additional traffic. And then you talk about 52, and yes, 52 gets congested, and there will be at times potentially up to 100 more cars on the road related to this that may go down 52. They may go to Irvin. They may just go to Waco BP and head back. We don't know where they're all going to go, but we do know that the State Highway Traffic Engineer, along with the Bluegrass Ads and the Metropolitan Planning Organizations, and all have identified 52 as a high priority widening project to look at. So we know that that's in the works, and we also know that these other jurisdictions, Madison County Public Schools, State Highway Traffic Engineer, they make decisions on where they put schools, where they redistrict kids, where they widen roads based on the planning decisions that local governments make. If they know that there's going to be an additional need, then that makes that a priority item. Otherwise, that $7 million goes somewhere else. So wanted to address those issues. And then the affordable housing comments that were made. You all know this, there's a difference between capitalized affordable housing, what HUD determines would be affordable to people at low to moderate income levels, and then just affordable housing, common sense affordable housing. And we also know that supply and demand affects that. And the more homes you have in your community, the cheaper homes will be, just because there will be opportunities for people, whether they want a higher end home and can afford it, whether they want a more affordable home. The more homes in your community, the better. And this community needs them. Again, I'll go back to that March 11th meeting of this court, and it says that we're growing at about 1,500 plus or minus people a year. 600 of those are in the county. You need 250 dwelling units per year to keep up with the current needs. And then the Kentucky housing numbers that Magistrate Hughes brought to us say that currently Madison County has a housing shortage of 2,578 units. And by 2029, that could be as much as 6,723 units. So Madison County does need housing, and this provides that housing. And one woman mentioned that I've served on the Lexington City Council. I think you all know that. I no longer do, but yes, I do. But as you all also know, I was born and raised in Madison County, and this is home. But when I served on the Lexington City Council, we learned that because a community that shut off growth and said no more housing, we put our urban services boundary too tight, and housing prices in 10 years increased by 70 to 80%. And rent increases, 1 year, put us in the top 10 rent increases in the country. So if you don't keep up with your housing needs, you will restrict affordability in your community, and you already see that you need it. So lastly, why do we put it here? Yeah, of course, the market does dictate sometimes where your property is going to go, where your development's going to go. Right now, this property was available for sale. It makes sense to develop it. So this developer has chosen single family because that does respect a more rural community. And I'll put to you, we heard about loss of farmland. People don't want any kind of development next to their farmland. When the court and the planning commission put this property in your urban corridor, you said that this is appropriate for development in this area. You actually called for mixed use, which would include commercial, but we're keeping it less dense as a single family residential. But the majority of Waco and in its surrounding communities are still outside the urban corridor. And so you have equally determined that they should stay rural in nature. They should stay agriculture. But this particular piece of the Waco communities in College Hill, you have said is appropriate for development. And you even called for growth going east 52 as a growth center to focus on potential growth. So I think that's where if you stay focused on what we're doing, nobody likes change, of course not. But this change is appropriate, and it's what you've called for, and it's a development that will not affect safety or the harmony of that community. So I'll leave it at that. I'll answer any questions that you have. I think that addresses most of what folks have said. Again, you've got water, you've got sewer. Your traffic's not going to be a problem according to the experts. This is within your urban corridor, but it's still low dense development. It respects the rural nature of the community. This really does everything that you've called for. And I think we've addressed all the issues that would say otherwise, and would appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
Preston, you was in Fayette County. Now, I'm kind of impressed with Fayette County because y'all utilize professional urban planners. And it looks like you do a good job of putting in infrastructure. Would you agree with that? Planning for growth and
well, yes and no. I mean, if anybody followed the news, they would see that I was the biggest proponent in expanding our urban services boundary because we were not keeping up with the housing needs. But yeah, we have always tried to keep up with the infrastructure with growth. I would put to you that Mr. Thomas is as professional a planner as any that we have over in Fayette County as well. You all have got the right folks here to do that. And I think, particularly as it plays to this project, you are following where you've put in the infrastructure. Now, there are other places I would agree with you that maybe not and would be too fast. But here, you do have the infrastructure, particularly when you look at infrastructure, is water, sewer, fire protection, and you've got that in this area.
not roads. So you say water, sewer, and fire protection, but the roads is really where our infrastructure is. Traffic is the biggest concern. You hear it all over the county.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and we're not building any roads.
And I would agree with you that the traffic is always one of the biggest issues with development, and I think that's why you've just got to look at, if we do this development, do the studies show that it's safe? And then over time, when the county has money or the state has money, you make those improvements that you see necessary. But roads are actually one of those things that is different than all other infrastructure, in my opinion. You really can't justify spending the money until the need is there. Whereas some of the sewer and water stuff, you can justify building, getting out ahead of your development. Whereas the road building, it kind of naturally reacts, and that's not a great thing. That's just, I think, a fiscal reality.
That Richmond Road situation there off of I-75, there's, that's a pretty wild. Who paid for that?
That came from federal highway safety money. It's a safer, whatever the acronym is, safer, but it's highway safety money that then was given to the state highway traffic engineer, the same one that oversees Madison County planning, and they identified that area as needing those improvements. And I actually live in that right along that road line, and it's wild development right now. Yeah. But I think once they get it done, they say that those R cuts and everything are supposed to increase or decrease fatal accidents dramatically. But again, that was a reactive thing. It was identified that Athens-Boonesboro Road, Richmond Road had become too congested, and so then they came in with that money to fix it. And that's again where I think traffic is just it has a reactive nature as a political funding. And so.
All right, thank you, Preston. Appreciate it.
Take a 5-minute break, Judge.
Sure. Recess for 5. All right, thank you all. Thank you for your patience. Bert, if you will, please come back up there was one thing that,
Vice Pen?
there was one thing that I think somebody made a comment on that I think it's important for you to make sure that citizens understand. And that the comment had to do with who pays for infrastructure. Is that the taxpayers? Is that, I guess, customers of that
Not at all.
utility? And so I just want to make sure that that's explained.
No, the developer's responsible for all those costs, any kind of infrastructure improvements, water lines, fire hydrants, any kind of roads, sidewalks, curbs and gutters, sewer. Now, if they work out some kind of deal with the sewer authority to cost share or something, not suggesting that's going to happen here, but that kind of thing does happen. But I don't have any reason to say that's happening here, but it would not be taxpayer money. It would come from the developer, all those improvements. He or she's required to pay for those.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, members of the court, so we do.
I got one more thing to say.
I'm not going for a vote. I'm just, because it's been such a long time.
Yeah.
Can I make a statement, Billy Ray, without you interrupting me?
I'll try.
So all I was going to say is we do have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
All right. And so does the fiscal court have comments? Billy Ray.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
There's a lot of good points that's made here, and I don't want to belabor them or repeat them, but I do know at the first time that the court turned this down, it was because of traffic and safety was the number one issues, and the traffic counts that we had from the Kentucky Department of Transportation, there's 1,200 vehicles, and this is dated, this is probably out of date, 1,200 vehicles travel College Hill Road to Flint Road every day, and 400 vehicles travel from Flint Road to the end of College Hill Road every day. And data from the Kentucky State Police says that since 2017, there have been 67 accidents with one fatality within 1 mile, first mile of College Hill Road, and during daylight hours. So from a objective point of view, it's the safety and traffic issues, that's the big concern why I'm opposed to this. Now, I will say this. We passed an animal control ordinance earlier. That animal control ordinance affects everyone in Madison County. We all got skin in that game. These folks out here and all these folks that's written all these letters, they ain't a one of them can vote for either one of you. Y'all ain't got a dog in the fight, but I do. You know, you can't, this is nobody in your district. This doesn't affect anybody in your district. This just affects my district, my folks, and I'm representing them. You really don't have a, you don't even have a dog in the fight. So I want to get a little bit scriptural, brothers. So I beseech you, brethren, by the mercies of God, that if you cannot see your way clear to support the citizens in the 3rd District, I beseech you to abstain from voting at all, because this is really not your area. And all God's people said? Amen.
Anyone else?
I would seriously object to that. We've had this conversation. This decision affects everybody in Madison County because this decision is about property rights. It's about a person's ability to do what they want to on their property. This is not about politics. You've made it about politics, and that's okay. But this is about principle. And principle dictates is that we do what's right in Waco, we do what's right in southern Madison County. It doesn't matter. It's about property rights. And this owner has the right to do what they want to on their property. And so,
Ma'am, y'all had your.
and that's all we're voting on is a zone change. We're not voting on 190-something houses. All that has to come and process later on. This is about a person's right to be able to do what they want to on their property, and they want to have a zone change. It's well within their right. If this was in Berea or anywhere else, I would vote for this just the same, because it's about principle, Billy Ray. It's not about politics. And politics is the reason why 3 of the people are not on this fiscal court anymore that voted for it last time.
That ain't why they got beat, buddy.
It got beat, but they're not here anymore, are they?
That ain't why they got beat.
Well, that's debatable. So, you know, it's about principle, it's not about politics. And it's not about money. I know that comment was made as well, because every time you build a road, it costs the county more money. There's not enough gas tax to pay for the roads we have now. And furthermore, Magistrate Hughes, you get more money from the gas tax than any of us. Have you went to College Hill, to the state, Mr. Wesley, and asked him to address College Hill?
In terms of what?
Making the road safer. You're saying it's unsafe now. I mean, we go to Frankfurt quite often. I mean, everybody has an advocate in Frankfurt to make these decisions and to make improvements.
Anything else, Brian?
I'm good.
Tom, I know you said you want to make a few comments.
Yeah, so I was on the court that voted this down, and my vote 3 years ago was yes, I voted for the project. And I didn't take that lightly, just like today I didn't take it lightly. I don't take any of them lightly. When there's a zone change, I go to the property and look at the property. I went to the property 3 years ago. I drove across that property. I got out and walked in the places where you couldn't drive across the property. Where the issue of the traffic was, I went out there and sit from 6 to 8 one morning in the highest peak traffic time that there was. Now, having said that, I'm just going to tell you this. If there's anybody in this room that says there ain't a traffic problem out on 52, you ain't never been on 52. There's a traffic problem on 52, and that has to be addressed. But that's not what we're here for right now. But that has to be addressed. If I were the magistrate for that area, they would know me by first name every day in Frankfurt, every single one of them, because I wouldn't leave till that was fixed. That was my area. That's a different story. I did have a concern about the sewer. You've answered that question on who was going to pay that. Thank you for answering that. You know, the other thing, I went out yesterday. If you go out there now, you see the tire tracks. I went out there yesterday and drove over that property again. And as I was coming out of the property, I looked across the roads. There's Waco Heights. And I thought to myself, I don't know how old Waco Heights is, but 30 years ago, 20 years ago, when the first house was built over there, I guarantee you there was a group of people in front of the Fiscal Court who was raising Hades about it. Look what a nice subdivision that turned in to be over in Waco Heights. I don't know if any of you all live in Waco Heights. I have no idea.
We wouldn't fuss about a nice development.
But it's a,
About 192 houses.
but it's a pretty nice area over there, I'll say that. And I assume that the developer here will do the same thing. There was one other comment that was made that I want addressed, that I just want to address. That was about property inspections, about what this property will look like in 10 years. If you got a magistrate, I can tell you what it'll look like in 10 years. They'll go out there and they'll address it every time the grass gets mowed. You can ask whoever we got upstairs in Bert's office. I was just up there this morning on a property. That's part of our job, is to make sure that those areas are kept up and well maintained. That's what we do. That's part of it. If you got a problem with your property, for somebody that lives beside you, call us. I give my number out every court. I'm sure all the rest of them will be easy to address those as well. I'm done, Judge.
Bert, one last thing that I want you to address is somebody made a comment about some kind of division of water permit about an 8-foot culvert. Can you, and I know you might not be able to speak on the actual 8-foot culvert, but can you speak on how through the development process that, there's retention and detention and can you kind of explain a little bit of that, please?
There is a spot on that property that I guess is a little bit of a low spot or retains water. I got stuck in it. Road department had to come pull me out because it was a low spot. I think they're trying to address some of that. But that will be factored into their retention and detention requirements. Again, whether it's 6 foot, 8 foot, I don't know, but it'll be whatever it needs to be to address that situation. And they'll have to detain that water so it doesn't leave that property any faster than it did pre-development. So I think they're getting ahead of it. That's a state process. A floodplain permit through the Division of Water Environmental Protection is a state permit, so they have to apply to the state. They have a local permit too, but all that, those requirements that they have to meet are at the state level, and I think they've applied for that permit to address that issue. Regardless of whether this gets approved or not, they're going to have to correct that if they want to do anything with this property, because it is a little bit of a problem area.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Any comments?
Is it my turn?
Yeah. You ready? Yeah.
I'm the last one. Well, I just want to say that, I feel like both sides have come with their information, their facts, feelings, emotions. I somewhat get this. Billy Ray and I have had this discussion offline a couple times. District 2 that I represent has a lot of growth in it. Our growth has to be planned. We're going to grow. And so it comes down to, and again, as a human being and an individual, I understand this, but it comes down to, because I've talked to people in my district about it, well, it's in my bubble now. If it's move it over there or move it over there or take it down there, but it becomes reality to an individual and a person when it gets close to them. And I get the emotions, I get the feelings, I get the wants, no wants. But Madison County is growing, and at least from my perspective, it can't all be in District 2. I mean, we've got the sewer, we've got the water, we've now got the fire. I know Billy Ray and I worked together on trying to bring fire up to the northern part of the county, which needs it dramatically, and we've got that done. But these are tough decisions because you've got people that don't want certain things, and then you've got reality. And that's the only comments I have, Judge.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we do have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 2025-006. No further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Master Buchan,
Yes.
Master Combs,
Yes.
Master Lockmiller,
Yes.
Master Hughes,
Nope.
Judge Taylor.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it, Bert.
I'm sorry, folks. I've let you down. I'm sorry.
Next is first reading of orders 2025-008, fiscal court budget for FY 2025-2026. Good morning.
Hello. Ordinance 2025-008, and an ordinance related to the adoption of the fiscal year 2025-2026 fiscal court budget. Whereas the Madison County Fiscal Court is responsible for the administration of the county budget, and whereas Madison County Fiscal Court has reviewed the proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 fiscal court budget, and whereas the county treasurer has reviewed the budget to ensure sound financial practices. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of the County of Madison, Commonwealth of Kentucky, that the proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 fiscal court budget be approved. This ordinance shall become effective on the date of the second reading and adoption.
Motion to approve ordinance 2025-008, Judge.
This is the first reading, though, isn't it? We have to have a.
Yeah, we don't
Oh, it's
vote on
first
first
reading.
reading.
Okay.
Yeah, we just accept it for the first reading, but we can take comment.
All right, I'll give you some comments on it.
All right.
I'm sorry that I impacted your Friday afternoon when you was trying to get away on a long
That's all right.
weekend. But thank you and Jill for going line by line with the questions I had over that budget. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate you. Anyone else? Again, this is a first reading. For anyone that wants to make comments about this ordinance, feel free to email it. Let's see, which one is it? Please feel free to email the comments at comments.madisoncountyky.gov. A draft of this copy of this ordinance will be available on our website at www.madisoncountyky.gov under the Government tab, Transparency and Public Notices. So, no questions? All right. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it. Next is Resolution 2025-044. This is a waste tire grant funds application. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning.
Still morning.
Resolution 2025-44,
A resolution for application and administration of Kentucky Division of Waste Management Waste Tire Grant Funds. Whereas the Kentucky Division of Waste Management Waste Tire Grant Funds allow eligible communities to apply for assistance to recycle or dispose of waste tires, and whereas the maximum amount of the Kentucky Waste Tire Grant funding available to individual counties is $4,000, and whereas the Madison County Fiscal Court desires to make an application for these waste tire grant funds in the amount of $4,000 to be expended during the grant period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026, and whereas there is no local match required. Now therefore be it resolved this 27th day of May, 2025, by Madison County, Kentucky, the Judge Executive and/or his designee is hereby authorized to make application for these funds, and if the application is successful, to enter into an agreement with the Kentucky Division of Waste Management to administer these grant funds, to execute any documents which are deemed necessary to facilitate and administer the award, and to act as the authorized correspondent for the above referenced project.
Thanks, Scott. Members of the court, you've heard Resolution 2025-044. What's the pleasure of the court?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Lockmiller?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Bucking?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Scott, you're still on deck, right?
I am, yes, sir.
Resolution 2025-044 is a resolution for Madison County Fiscal Court to adopt roadways for county maintenance. Scott?
Resolution 2025-045, resolution for Madison County Fiscal Court to adopt roadways for county maintenance. Whereas Madison County Fiscal Court would like to adopt the following roadways, including street drainage, infrastructure, and existing sidewalks for county maintenance. And whereas the roads are described as follows: Twin Lakes Subdivision, Phase 1, Twin Lakes Drive, 2,119 feet long by 20 feet wide. Number 2, Trillium Loop, 2,120 feet long by 20 feet wide. And number 3, Ken Blue Lane, 1,116 feet long by 20 feet wide. Whereas these roads have been inspected by the Madison County Road Supervisor and are recommended for adoption. Now therefore be it resolved that the Fiscal Court does hereby approve this resolution and authorizes the Judge Executive and/or his designee to execute the same on behalf of the county.
Motion approved Resolution 2025-045, Judge.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just one comment to it. Scott and I have had this discussion. I know that there are, and this is for the residents that live out there, there are a couple of sidewalks that need to be finished up, and we are going to take this in, I think, with the vote today, and we will be fixing the sidewalks this summer, Judge, to finish that off.
Okay.
Correct?
That is all of the sidewalks that are non-connecting currently that are not on a vacant lot. If
Yeah.
they are on a vacant lot, they
Yes.
must be done before the building inspection is approved by planning and zoning.
Yes, thank you.
How full is this subdivision?
It's full.
Full, completely.
And the holdup on this, Brian, I know you probably don't know the history, but the biggest thing is there was 2 lakes in this subdivision. One of the current developers took one of the lakes. The other one was still in lingo. It has now been deeded to the individuals who own the apartments going in on the left, so the county has no responsibility of any current ponds.
Any other questions? We do have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2025-045. Call the roll.
Master Lockmiller?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Bucking?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge
Thank you.
Taylor?
Yes. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Next, Resolution 2025-046, Emergency Management Agency Joint Interlocal Agreement. Jill, good morning.
Good morning. This is a resolution of the Madison County Fiscal Court approving a joint interlocal agreement between Madison County Fiscal Court, Kentucky, referred to as the county, the city of Richmond, Kentucky, and the city of Berea, Kentucky, collectively referred to as the parties, for the establishment and operation of an interlocal emergency management agency. Whereas pursuant on KRS 398.010, cities and counties in Kentucky are encouraged to jointly create a single unified local emergency management agency to serve all local governments collectively, provided that the agency complies with the provisions of KRS chapters 39A to 39F and complies with the Interlocal Cooperation Act. And whereas the parties recognize the need for a unified and coordinated approach to emergency management for the benefit of all residents of Madison County, Richmond, and Berea. And whereas the purpose of this agreement is to establish an interlocal emergency management agency which shall act jointly on behalf of the county, Richmond, and Berea to develop, implement, and maintain the emergency response plan, program, and organization described in KRS Chapter 39 in order to ensure the coordination of emergency preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation efforts among Madison County, Richmond, and Berea. And whereas the agreement outlines the governing authority, organizational structure, scope of services, funding, and cost sharing, and responsibilities of all parties involved in the management of emergency preparedness services. And whereas the parties do hereby agree to the terms and conditions set forth in the attached agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the Madison County Fiscal Court does hereby approve this resolution and authorizes the judge executive and/or his designee to negotiate and execute contracts on behalf of the county.
Thank you, Jill. Members of the court, you've heard Resolution 2025-046. What's the pleasure of the court, please?
Make a motion.
Have a motion. I have a second. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
So Judge, there in paragraph 1, there's a lot of things there about the agency complies with the provisions of KRS Chapter 39A to 39F. There's a lot of information between 39A and 39F. And Jill, thank you for meeting with me this morning to discuss some of those things and take care of that. I appreciate it.
Yes, and this will operate just similarly as we talked about this morning as it does today. 39A through 39F outlines the responsibilities of the Emergency Management Director, which is Chief Tim Gray. He complies with all of those things today, just as he will in the future or whoever that designee would be.
Any other questions? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Botkin?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Lockmuller?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Next, Resolution 2025-047. This is the KCGC equipment and licenses. KCGC bid award.
Bid award. There you go. You got it.
Bid award. Okay. Chris.
A resolution for the Madison County Fiscal Court to approve a bid award for the Kentucky County's Government Cloud, the KCGC, end-user equipment and licenses for Scott County Government. Whereas Madison County Fiscal Court is required to approve of all bids for projects in accordance with the administrative code. Whereas the bids were needed to purchase end-user equipment and licenses for the use in the Madison County, Kentucky KCGC project. Whereas the bid notice was properly posted, 2 bids were received, opened, and reviewed. 13 Layers LLC's total package bid was $135,135. CDWG government total package was $137,923.10. Whereas Madison County reserved the right in the bid to award the bid either by full package or by line item, whatever was best in the best interest of Madison County. Whereas based on the pricing, the Madison County Chief Information Officer recommends in the best interest of Madison County to award the bid as follows. 120 clear cubes to 13 layers for $51,960. 120 monitors to CDWG for, that's not 120, it's 25, $6,029.50. 100 Silexes to CDW for $23,500. 120 LeoStream licenses to 13 layers for $29,250. 120 HP Anywhere licenses to 13 layers for $12,300. And 120 user CALs for Windows for $4,042.80. So basically, CDWG will be awarded $33,572.30. 13 layers will be awarded $93,510. By awarding in this manner, Madison County has realized a cost savings of $8,052.70 compared to the total lowest bid package. Now therefore be resolved that the fiscal court does hereby approve the resolution and authorizes the judge executive and/or his designee to negotiate and execute contracts on behalf of the county.
Thank you, Chris. Members of the court, you've heard Resolution 2025-047. What's the pleasure of the court?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
Oh, you got down and dirty with them, didn't you?
Yeah, I told Joe, I was like, man, I don't know, but $8,000 is worth the hassle to go through and figure it all out and make sure that they're giving us the best price. So
Yeah.
You'll probably remember we did this probably 10, 12 months ago, but Scott County had a change to their grant funding, which then had to go back before they could spend any money. And of course, 13 months later, nobody's going to hold the pricing.
Right.
Luckily to us, the pricing went down.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what happens, but hey, we'll take it. So we make a little bit of revenue off selling this stuff to them, and then they'll be onboarding here in the next couple months. So
Good stuff.
It's exciting.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Master Bucking?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Lockmuller?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Come on up, Jessica. Thank you. Personnel today.
Yes. Members of the court, I would just like for you all to look over your packet. And all we have this time is 5 change of statuses. No new hires in the packet this time, if you all would approve those.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the change of status of these employees. Thank you, Jessica. Any comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Lockmuller?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Bucking?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Thank you, Jessica. Next is our employee spotlight. Come on up, Wendy. I don't guess anybody could guess what department it's in, right?
Right, we're very excited. So our employees spotlight today was brought with me under false intentions, but the Assistant Director of Operations, Madison County Emergency Communications.
I love that.
Soraya Lakes, serving our county since 2012. Her colleague wrote, Soraya's performance and effort during the storms on May 16th through 17th of 2025 was amazing. A leader always helps make a team stronger, and that's just what she did. She provided the knowledge, the strength, and the time that we needed at 911 to help make a difference in the community. And that is just signed by a colleague. But I can tell you, under so many circumstances, Soraya is new to her leadership role in the part of assistant director, but coming as a shift supervisor on evenings if there were storms, I can honestly say I'd never had to worry if anything was going to get taken care of and if we were going to get the proper notifications. She has grown so much since 2012 coming to us from Jackson County. We stole her away. That's where she got certified, and she has not stopped or looked back since she's been here. So I think her leadership goes beyond that in a lot of areas. Her team would follow her. I always joke, I was like, if she wanted them to jump off the bridge at Clays Ferry, they would line up. I hope she never does that. There's days they probably feel like it, but she leads with amazement, and she leads with good guidance and good conscience. So I'm very proud. So I'm very glad that somebody recommended her for the employee spotlight. You want to come up just so people can, it's your moment. I told her it was the first new court and that we all needed to represent. Same way Tim got county fire. So. But this is Soraya. So Soraya is new to the position. It is a new position also, Assistant Director of Operations right under us. So she's doing great with it. So if you see Soraya out, just always know if you need anything in my absence that she or Jody are always there. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Congratulations.
Soraya. Appreciate you a lot. Yep. Good stuff. All right, next is Judge's Report. Just have a few announcements. We do have a town hall meeting this coming Thursday, May 29th at 5:30 p.m. It will be at the Madison County Fairgrounds. This event is open to the public for community discussions. 2025 marks the 30th anniversary of the Kentucky Special Olympics Games being held in Richmond on the campus of EKU. City of Richmond and EKU will celebrate this milestone by having a mini parade featuring the Special Olympics athletes during their annual torch run on Friday, June 6, 2025 at 4 p.m. If you'd like to participate, have questions, please contact Philip Seifert at 859-624-0013. And then don't forget to use our website at www.madisoncountyky.gov/community-events to see a list of some of the events happening throughout our community. If you have an event you would like to feature on this page, simply click on the Submit an Event button and complete the form. So that's all I have today. Billy Ray.
Nope, good.
Tom.
Just a couple things, Judge. I know this is, whenever you have a zone change, it's always a trying time for a lot of folks, but I do want to say this. We did get a lot of feedback and a lot of input from by email and some text from folks that live out there in that area. And for me, that does weigh in my decision on things. You know, I do try to listen to what folks have got to say out there and balance that based on what I've, seen. So I do appreciate that. Only other thing, Judge, if anyone needs me, they can reach me at 200-9765.
Thanks, buddy. Brian?
Yeah, just want to continue to remember all the folks down in London, Somerset that have been impacted by the tornado. And also, we haven't had a court meeting since Gary passed away. Continue to remember his family and the work that he did at their golf course, and he's going to be hard to replace, to find somebody that had that much passion about it. So we do miss him and pray for his family. Other than that, Judge, just glad to be here.
Thanks for bringing that up. Thought about him this morning on my way into work.
Yeah, he was a good one.
Yeah.
Nothing really, Judge, other than I'm not going to be, because of a prior commitment, I'm not going to be at Town Hall on Thursday. So I wish you all the best, but I have a prior engagement I have to go to, so I won't be there.
Good. Kenny?
No, everything.
Counselor? Good. Sheriff? No, sir. You good? Everybody good? All right. Thank you all. Appreciate everybody. Department heads, any department heads? Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I know it's been a long one.
That's okay.
I just wanted to take a moment to let everyone know, if you've been to our website, madisoncountyky.gov, it's already been announced, but we do have text to 911 that is finally live. So citizens are able to text into 911 instead of just being able to call in and disconnect and us go back. So it's very easy to text to 911. Just open your phone's built-in text messaging app, type to 911, and then keep your message short and brief. It usually takes about 10 to 20 seconds is what we've been seeing as we've been testing and doing that. So I'll probably do a presentation at a later date, but I just wanted the citizens to know that that is there. So
It's great.
All right.
Thank you for the update.
Thank you. Yeah, our campaign will start kicking off after the meeting today. We wanted to announce to you all. So if you do see it, share it on your Facebook so everyone knows that it's anywhere in the county and all of the subscribers are on there. So
That's great.
We'll kick it off. Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you. Bert?
It's been a long meeting, but I just love our new space so much. I just want to keep it going. We had our first Board of Adjustments meeting in there last week, and we'll have our first Planning Commission meeting next week. So, but that's not why I came up. So I just wanted to report to the court that you all may not know this, but all the ABC licenses in Madison County expired at the end of last month. So I'm happy to report today that, with a couple exceptions for other reasons, all those have been renewed. All the money's been collected. Everything's done. I also want to let you all know that this is our second renewal. So in the year and a half that we've had countywide ABC licenses, I had one complaint, and that was self-initiated. That was by me. I had an applicant that wasn't cooperating. But other than that, I've had no public complaints, no citizen complaints about selling to underage people or being open after hours or anything like that, and had zero complaints. But with that being said, if anybody sees anything they have concerns about or questions about, please call my office and we'll try to address it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you mentioning the space, Bird. I haven't really said much about it, but it is something that glad we got it done, but hopefully it's something y'all are very proud of. I'm very proud of it. Luxon Contracting did a great job. Integrity Architect helped the design. So that whole partnership we had there, I think it really shows how good it's all turned out. So, Wendy, do you have something else?
I do. I'm sorry. I'm back
That's
again. For Chief and for EMA, just to let everyone know that the siren testing that we do the first Saturday in June, we will not be doing those this June because of the Special Olympics every year in June. If that Special Olympics fall on that Saturday, we do not conduct the test. But if anyone has any issues in the future with any of the tests or any time it goes off for the outdoor sirens for a tornado warning, then they are welcome to call 859-624-4787.
Right.
So, thank you.
Appreciate you, Wendy. Thank you. It's good. All right. Public comment? No public here, so I need a motion to pay the claims and approve the transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Master Lockmuller?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Watkins?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Our next meeting will be June 10th, 2025. That'll be right back here in our fiscal court room here in Richmond. Again, June 10th, 2025, 9:30 a.m., right back here at 135 West Irvin Street on the first floor in our fiscal court room. I need a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Call the roll.
Master
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Lockmuller?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Thank you all. Appreciate everybody being here.